Hi friends, it's Danielle with Take Care Mama, and today I'm going to be going through all the books that I read in 2020. I read the most I've ever read before, and I'm super excited to share it with you. Because this is probably going to be a longer video, I'm going to have some timestamps below. I'm going to talk about my stats, and then I'm going to go through the books from least favorite to favorite in 3 different categories. I'm going to start with fiction, then I'm going to move over to like spiritual / self-help books, and then lastly a more general nonfiction pile. But first, there is a giveaway tied to this video, and that is this book, Everyday Mindfulness by Melissa Steginus. I hope I'm saying her name correctly. The publisher sent this to me and I thumbed through it. It looks amazing. I'm personally going to start it in February. I have something going on in January, but it's like 108 days of different exercises. And like I said, it looks fantastic, and they want to send one of you either a copy like this or an e-reader copy. So if you're interested, check the description box and we'll get you entered. I'll bring up my Goodreads account. I'd love to be connected on Goodreads because I like Goodreads. So let's see, 2020 year in books. So this says 24. I am saying 26. I have 2 books I'm still working on, but I'm positive I'm gonna finish before the end of the year. So my year in books, 26 books read. My goal was 25. I made it, and I'm a little surprised because 3 months ago I was so behind. So I caught up. 8,064 pages read. Again, that's a little under what it'll end at because I'm gonna add 2 more books to this. And the shortest book was 168 pages. The longest was my last book, 1,074. A little spoiler alert, I found it really interesting that the shortest book was one of my least favorite reads and the longest book was one of my favorite. I tend to like longer books. Average length, 336. Most popular, least popular. My average rating. I also was looking, 4 of the 26 were audiobooks. I was a little surprised it wasn't more. And 2 of them I read on the Kindle. So the vast majority were physical books read by my eyes. I am a library person, so I don't have them all, but I went back to the library and tried to recheck some of them out. And if I didn't have them, I wanted a picture. So if I didn't have them, I got other books from my house and kind of just turned the spine the other way so that I could get a good representation of how many books I read. I'm going to link as much as I can in the description box below of all these books. They are affiliate links. Click on one of my links and end up buying something. It's not going to cost you any more money, but I will get a small kickback from Amazon. So just wanted to put that out there. I'd really appreciate it as it helps support this small channel. We are going to start with fiction from least favorite to favorite. Now, I didn't love everything, and that doesn't mean you won't. I feel like there is a book for everyone and our opinions differ. Just so you know my taste in fiction, I tend to read long, slow books with a lot of character development. Like I love books about families and just like long and lots of character development. I also tend to gravitate toward thrillers and mysteries. That's my jam. Like my favorite authors are John Steinbeck and Jonathan Franzen. Love them. So we will start. This one I picked up randomly at a free little library. It's a mystery. It is The A-List by J.A. Jance. I'm kind of surprised I finished this. I gave it 2 stars. I mainly picked it up because it's a mystery and it takes place in Sedona, Arizona, which I like Sedona, Arizona. It's about a reporter. Well, first of all, this I think is a random book in a series, and it's not the kind of series where you have to read everyone in order. They can be standalones, which it was for me. It's about a woman who was a reporter and broke this case years ago. I'm pretty sure that might have been part of a past book. And then she moves and changes careers, and the past crime she helped shut down follows her. I don't know. I didn't love this book. The next one is The Witch Elm by Tana French. This is also a mystery. You see, I also gave it 2 stars. This was my first novel of the year. I read this in Arizona in January. Okay, I tend to get some of my book recommendations from Goodreads from the previous year's, what is it called? Like the Good Choice Awards, where you vote and you rank them in different categories. And this did really well, I think in 2019, in the mystery thriller category, I want to say. It was long, so it did that for me. 528 pages, yeah, that was long. Okay, it's about, let me think. It's about a young man and he does something kind of sketchy at work and then he ends up getting beaten up. By the way, I don't do spoilers, so this happens right away. Like, he's functioning, but he kind of needs a break, and he moves to his uncle's house where kind of he grew up with his grandparents, like the family's summer house. And he hangs out with his cousins. They like kind of have a reunion as young adults. And there's this mystery from his past, like a big family mystery unfolds. Like, even as I'm saying this, it's such a good premise. I don't know, I kind of was bored, but it did really well in that Goodreads category. Okay, the next one is, oh man, you guys. The next one was An Anonymous Girl by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. 2 stars again. This was my most anticipated read of 2020. It's a psychological thriller, and that is my favorite. Like, I love that. And the reason that I anticipated it so much is they wrote The Wife Between Us, which I adore. That's probably my all-time favorite psychological thriller book. The twists and turns, I love when they're so unexpected and more than one. It is so good. And so I had such high hopes for this one. The premise is this young woman who needs money kind of accidentally finds herself in a psychological study with a psychiatrist professor, and the study is on morals, and they kind of get swept up in this huge dilemma. I just thought it was kind of boring. And I was thinking about this. If I had read this on its own without having known that they wrote The Wife Between Us, I might have liked it. But I think my expectations were so high that I was disappointed. I have read that people who didn't like The Wife Between Us, which I don't even understand, it's so good, they loved this. And then people who loved The Wife Between Us did not love this. So, like I said, books are for everyone. I'm just giving you my opinion. I wanted to like this so badly. Let me know if you've read the other books by them. I think they at least have a couple more. That one was kind of sad. Okay, my son and I read Harry Potter, the first one. We read this together right when lockdown happened back in April, so I think I'm just like always gonna remember this with him. The next 2 are 2 books in a series. I think there are 4 altogether. This is historical fiction. It's Willem Moberg. I think originally these were written in Swedish and translated. I could be wrong. The first one is The Emigrants. The second one is On to a Good Land. Like I said, I think there are 4 total. I liked this. I enjoyed them. I think I'm okay with not finishing this out. My dad read these maybe like 10 years ago, and I always wanted to read them, and this was my year. It is about immigrants who come over from Sweden, over on the ship, dock in New York, make their way to Minnesota, settle down on a farm. Unless you love historical fiction in this area, unless you're from Minnesota, unless you're Swedish, I don't know if you're gonna love it. Like, I appreciated it with all the references in Minnesota. And my children are Swedish, my husband is Swedish. I liked it. It was slow. And like I said, I usually like slow books, but it's not, like, it wasn't slow because of character development, which is what I like. It was just slow, which is not a knock. I don't know. I don't remember what I gave those. Oh, 3 stars. I thought I gave it 4.5 for a second. 3 stars. So we're getting into 3 stars and above. Like, I recommend all these books. Okay, the next one is Beautiful Demons by Sarah Cannon. I picked this up because I follow her on YouTube. I will link her channel below, Heart Breathings. She also has a Sarah Cannon YouTube channel for her fans of the books. Her YouTube channel is geared toward indie authors, I would say, and she kind of inspired me to write my own novel this November, and I was part of some of her groups as I wrote that, so I kind of consider her a mentor, even though she has no idea who I am. And she writes YA, which is not my thing. I don't love YA, but I definitely wanted to read this because, I don't know, it was kind of cool because I kind of know her. And it was really good. It's very short, very quick read, paranormal, witchy feels, high school setting. It was really good. A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. This is one that I haven't quite finished yet. I'm so happy to be in this book right now. I don't know if I've ever read this, if I'm being honest. If I have, it's been a while ago. But it's short. It's technically a novella, and obviously there are a million different versions. This one's 152 pages, and the pages aren't, I mean, they look huge, but they're not. This is an illustrated copy. It's beautiful. I kind of want to make it a tradition of reading this every year. It's just does all the things. It's like gothic and creepy, but Christmas feels, and really good morals and lessons. James was reading this with me. I think he kind of gave up, but that's okay. The other great thing about this is it's so old that it's free, because I can't think, but that one thing ran out where you can publish it to the public domain. And yes, you can get like an e-reader for free or even an audiobook for free. I kind of have all. I have the book, a free audio version, and one on my Kindle. So I've been kind of, I like doing that, having different versions of the same book and kind of going from one to the other. Okay. Oh, this was good. On Earth, We're Briefly Gorgeous. We're getting down to it. I think this is a debut novel by Ocean Vuong. If I'm not mistaken, I think he is known for poetry, I think. Or maybe I'm just making it up because this book is very poetic. The way it's formatted is like very brief chapters that are kind of like snippets, like stream of conscious memories, and it's lyrical and beautiful. And this young man, okay, they are a Vietnamese family in Connecticut, and it's a love letter to his mother, and it deals with a lot of dark stuff like sexual identity crisis, which that isn't a dark subject, but for him and his family it kind of is. It deals a lot with addiction. That part was hard for me to read. It's a dark, heavy book, but I think important. I didn't love the lyrical format, but I think a lot of people would, and it's short too. I mean, it's 242 pages, but I blew through this and I'm a slow reader. Don't you love the title, On Earth, We're Briefly Gorgeous? His grandmother is also part of this book. Oh, it also deals with mental health issues. I love his grandma. Okay. 3 more. I couldn't decide the top 3 which order they'd go in. I loved all of these. They could all be my favorite. The first is City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert. I have one of her nonfiction books coming up later. I love her. She is the author of Eat, Pray, Love. This is historical fiction. It is 1940s New York City showgirls. It's just fun. And I have read and watched a lot of interviews with her, and that was her goal, just to like have a fun book. and dealing with like promiscuous women back in the 1940s when that wasn't so accepted. And if you just want a good story, this is your book. And isn't the cover great? The little feather. I love and adore Elizabeth Gilbert. She's one of my favorite people to follow on Instagram. Okay, second to last in fiction is Emma Straub, All Adults Here. I gave it 4 stars. Okay, let's read the synopsis. When Astrid Stick witnesses, a school bus accident in the center of town, it jostles loose a repressed memory from her young parenting days decades earlier. Secondly, Astrid realizes she was not quite the parent she thought she'd been to her 3 now grown children. But to what consequence? Oh, now I'm remembering all these things. This is a really good book. Her youngest son is drifting and unfocused, making parenting mistakes of his own. Her daughter is intentionally pregnant yet struggling. Her eldest... This is so good. This is what I usually like in a book. The long, slow, lots of character development, a family. It reminds me of something I read last year. I wonder if I could find that really quick. The Nest. Did you guys read The Nest? It reminds me of The Nest. In that, I don't know, the adults are kind of messed up. And the mom is messed up. The mom is widowed. Again, I'm not giving this away. Her husband dies before the book. And she's in this relationship that's secret from her kids. And there's a lot of dark stuff her kids are going through. There's sexuality stuff in this book. I like this book a lot. Okay, one more. Okay, the number 1 fiction book that I read this year was the last book I read, Stephen King, Under the Dome. This is the 1100 page beast. That makes me proud I caught up to the goal too, because this is my last one. Like, this is 3 books. Okay. I have never read Stephen King. I was very snotty about Stephen King. I thought Stephen King's books were so popular that I wouldn't like them, which is such a snotty thing to say. Sometimes I think I'm smarter than I am, and like the mass popular books are not for me. And really, I'm not that smart. It's Stephen King. People read them for a reason. The other thing I thought was it was all gore and blood and like cheap, scary horror. But no, this wasn't. This was suspenseful. This was so good. It was long. And it was long, but not a ton of character development. There are a ton of characters in here. There's even a nice little summary at the beginning of all the characters, which I found so helpful. Like, there isn't enough time to do character development. There are so many characters, but also it's just like telling this epic story. The other funny thing about the story and the length of the book is considering the story takes place over, I think, 10 days. There's just a lot of stuff that goes on in these 10 days. The premise is we are in a small town in Maine, and one day an invisible dome comes down on the border of this small town, and you can't see it, but you like can feel it. It's glass. You can't get in, you can't get out. This town is just cut off from society. They don't have power. Luckily, a lot of people have generators, but so many things happen. There are town politics at play. There are a lot of villains in this book. Another reason I'm surprised I liked it so much, I usually like when villains are redeemable. I'm just someone who believes there are always redeemable qualities in people. And this book there are just a bunch of people you hate. Like, there are no redeeming qualities about them. But I still liked it. This is just a fun? This is just an epic story. I don't know, did you guys read this? I am so reading more Stephen King in 2021. I think I'm gonna take at least a month break because I think a lot of his books are this thick. Let me know if you have recommendations. I'd love to read The Stand. I think we're too close to COVID for that. I think what I'm gonna read next is the historical fiction time travel JFK book. I can't remember the title. It's a date that maybe I should know from history. 11/23/63. But let me know if you have any suggestions. So yay, those were my fictions. We are moving on to spiritual / self-help. The first one was The 4 Agreements by Miguel Ruiz. This was my shortest book. I gave it 2 stars. I had such high expectations for this book. It sucks when you have high expectations sometimes. It was good. This book has like changed so many people's lives, I feel. And so I was very excited. I think the problem, this book is a little older. And since then, I think a lot of his ideas have been revamped and recycled and repackaged, and I've already read them from other people. And I think how more modern works have translated. I mean, none of this is new. It's just truths, universal truths. I didn't find this compelling. Like, I don't know. That was not my favorite. Okay. The next was one of my audiobooks, and I really liked it. So I gave it a 4 stars. So yeah, I loved all these. That one I didn't love. The rest, like, I loved them all. You Can Heal Your Life by Louise L. Hay. Now this is an old book too. She is no longer with us. I loved this. I got it for free on YouTube. So check this out. It's just like a good old-fashioned self-help book. I really love her book. Okay. Next was a reread. I forgot to talk about that. I reread 2 books this year. So this first one was You Are a Badass. I did a little book club this year. I led a little book club in February or January. I think it was right before COVID hit. And we read You Are a Badass together. I love this book. This is the book that like got me into self-help and manifestation. And I think it's the 3rd time I've read it, and I will read it again. If you haven't read this yet, you are missing out, my friend. Okay. This one I found in a free little library. I love Wayne Dyer. I've read him before. I think the next one is Wayne Dyer as well. And he is also no longer with us. This book was it's called Inspiration, Your Ultimate Calling, and it was about like how to find your ultimate calling and how to find inspiration. And I loved this book. I read this summer at the cabin, and I just have like really good memories from reading this book. The second one I read by him is Wishes Fulfilled. I think this was my other audiobook, and it was a reread. I first read this in Hawaii. Do you ever remember, like, do you do that too, where you remember where you were? I read it first in Hawaii, like book form. And I love this book. This one, after I was finished, I was like, I need to read Wishes Fulfilled again. This is like manifestation. Like, if you liked The Secret and are ready for more, this is more practical on how to manifest. I love Wayne Dyer a lot. I gave this 5 stars. Oh, maybe I have 3 audio. Oh, I had 4. Never mind. Okay. You Are the Guru by Gabby Bernstein. I love Gabby Bernstein. This is only in Audible. It's an Audible original, so you can only get it through Audible. I love her. I don't know if I have much to say about this. She's just amazing. I learned so much from her. For the 2nd year in a row, I'm doing her 21-day manifestation challenge starting January 1st. I think it's like $20 or $30. Totally worth it. I'm in her membership program. It's free for me. She is one of my favorite spiritual teachers. Oh, You Are the Placebo. I read this at the beginning of the year. This is by Dr. Joe Dispenza. He has a ton of YouTube content. I don't even know if he has his own channel, but so many of his interviews are on YouTube. He's so interesting. I love him because he talks about like manifestation and changing your life and lots of spiritual outcomes, but he doesn't do it in the context of religion. Not that he isn't religious, but he's more interested in the science behind it. And so if you are into kind of stretching in your spirituality but are more left-brained, I think you would really enjoy him. So this book is The Placebo Effect. I think most people know what that is. And can you have the placebo effect without a placebo? Like, can you, your mind is the placebo. Can you have yourself as a placebo and trick your mind into like healing itself, getting different outcomes? I would definitely reread this book. This is the only book I've read by him. Yeah, and I'm interested in reading more. I really, really like Joe Dispenza. The #1 book in this category in this year is Gabby Bernstein again. This is the first book I read this year, and it is Judgment Detox. I have heard her talk about this book and that she, it's her least popular book, and maybe not least popular, but least finished. And I understand why. This is a deep book, and there is deep work to be done in this book. There is a lot of exercises, and if you're willing to do it, which I was, you can get so much out of it. So it's all about judgment, and the judgment of others and the judgment of ourselves, and how when we judge others, what we're really doing is judging ourselves. And it opened my eyes so much. I forgave so many people who didn't even know I was judging them. I released so much. Oh man. I adore her. Oh, I gave this 4 stars. No, we're changing that to 5. That was definitely 5 stars. Ooh, that person didn't like it. Monica. Okay. We're gonna move on to the final category, and it's also the shortest. These are nonfiction, but not really spiritual or self-help. More general. The first one, I read 2 of her. So the first one I read on Audible. And that is Woman Code by, I think it's Elise Vitti. I'm not going to say that much about this because I'm going to talk about her other book, but it's about women's menstrual cycles and how we are not taught about them, how we can balance our hormones. There's just such a wealth of information in this book. Oh, okay, so this is my other Elizabeth Gilbert book. It is Big Magic. I started reading this when I was writing my novel. This is a reread. I read this a couple years ago. This is a book for creatives, and it's just talking about the magic of creativity and how ideas come to you, and they're not necessarily your ideas. Like, she believes ideas are floating around and they come to you, and you can either take them on and help manifest them into reality, or you can move them on and those ideas will find someone else. It's just really fun and interesting. I think this is my favorite book by Elizabeth Gilbert. I love it. Okay, this is the other one that I'm not quite finished yet. It's another Stephen King. It's on writing. It's half memoir, half like his childhood and how we got started with writing. And then the second half is more about the craft of writing. Again, I picked this up because I'm writing a book of my own and I love it. I'm getting so much out of it. And something that is really like refreshing or eye-opening is how insecure even Stephen King is. Every time he starts a project, he gets those feelings that like most of us get when we're doing scary things. Like he's not good enough, this book isn't good, and he's Stephen King. So it was just kind of refreshing to hear that I'm not the only one who struggles with imposter syndrome. I mean, Stephen King has it. Let's see, Breath. I love this book. I'm kind of surprised this isn't my top favorite one. There's only one more after this. Breath by James Nestor. I did a whole video, I will link it. I learned so much from this book and I think about this book multiple times a week. I read it this summer. I think about it all the time. It is about the art of breathing. We don't breathe correctly. Like, oh, it's just so good. It talks about, okay, so the premise is we should be breathing through our mouth, through our nose. Predominantly, we should be breathing in through our nose and breathing out through our nose. And a lot of us don't do that. I've improved so much after reading this book. I think I was a huge mouth breather before this book. Maybe I still am, but I've improved a lot. He talks about why the nose is superior. He talks about why a lot of us breathe through our mouth. A lot of it has to do with like anthropology and how we evolved as a species. He talks a lot about not curing, but like helping a lot of conditions simply through breath work. Even though it's nonfiction, there are like great characters in this book. That one guy from, oh, what's that? Where's that one guy from? There's this European guy who's amazing and he has a YouTube channel. I do breath work with him sometimes. Oh, love him. It was so good. Okay, my number one book in this category, 2020, and this is the last of the whole video, is In the Flow by Elisa Vitti. So again, this is about women's cycles. I also did a whole video on this. I preferred this to the other one greatly. The other one was first, and it's more, I feel like it's more scientific and information. This one to me is more application, like what should we do with this information? She breaks down the 4 seasons of our menstrual cycle and what we should optimally be doing in each stage. What we eat should be different, how we move our body is different, how we work, even like little time hacks for different stages of our cycles. I also think about this book weekly, maybe daily. I use her app. I'm excited to dig in more. I've read the book, I understand the information. It's a lot of information, so I've just slowly been making changes, and yeah, I love that book. So there are my 26 books of 2020. I'm so excited. I am proud of myself. I'm excited for 2021. Let me know if you have recommendations for me. You kind of maybe get a sense of what I'm into. I already have my list going on Goodreads, and I don't know what my goal is gonna be yet. I kind of want 3 a month this year, so that would be 36, right? I don't know, but on the other hand, I'm gonna try to finish my book this year, so I don't know if I'm gonna have time. I know a lot of people, and maybe even some of you, read like 100 a year. I literally don't understand that. I don't know. I'm a slow reader too. But I really loved reading more this year. What I cut was a lot of reality TV, which was a little sad, and news, which wasn't sad to cut. And sometimes as I'm kind of mindlessly scrolling through Instagram or whatever, I think I could be reading right now. I could have gotten 10 pages in just now, so I put it away and pick up my book and just get little snippets in. And yeah, I'm kind of falling in love with reading all over again. So, whew, this is a long one. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. If you aren't subscribed, I would so appreciate it if you'd hit that button and come on back. Have a wonderful day, Happy New Year, and take care. Bye.